All right, so we just got here in Squamish and moved into our swanky little Airbnb, and we're gonna go for a ride this morning, Beth and myself. But before we do that, I just wanted to go and do a little quick tip and talk about this guy here, the front tire kind of mud fender. People ask me sometimes, like, why do I have it on my bike 24/7? It never leaves my bike. I've actually had this exact fender on every single bike that I've had for probably the last 4 or 5 years, from my like Specialized SX Trail to an Intense M9. I actually have that on the rear, protecting the shock there. And then I had it on my Transition Covert Carbon, and now my Giant Rain. So why do I have it all the time? It's not necessarily to keep mud off of me. It actually doesn't do that great of a job of that. Like, it stops a little bit of mud flicking up in this general direction, but it's not doing a ton for me. What it's actually doing, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is protecting my fork seals, or the fork dust wipers, as well as the headset. So without this, like, if you can actually see here, it kind of wraps around. And so when mud is flying in this direction, it doesn't go and get caught in the bridge, in the fork bridge or the fork brace, and get stuck in behind here, because that's always the worst part, right there. And if you notice on mine, it is like perfectly clean. And I don't spend any time actually cleaning this. I'll spray it out with the hose every now and again, but you can see how nice and clean it is. So without that fender, it gets all caught up, and I'm sure you guys have all had this happen before, where it gets all mucked up in there, and then it's just like grinding into those dust wipers, and eventually wearing through, and then you get leaks like way sooner than you should. So that's the real reason why I have that. And it also stops tons of like high speed kind of muck and grit from going and getting trapped up in here, which also degrades the life of your headset bearings. So there are basically no cons to running this. It weighs basically nothing. They're really cheap. I bought this one and then just used it as a template to cut out more. I went to the dollar store and bought some of those like floppy binders, and then just traced it and cut out a bunch. I put one on my wife's bike and on my kid's bike and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I recommend going and grab one and having it on your bike all the time, because it just makes a lot of sense. So that was a little quick tip. And now I'm gonna go on a ride in Squamish, and I'm pumped.